Dear friends, welcome to Thalir. It means bud. It is budding force to a new life. And we are Capuchins working for the renewal of the society and the church. Dear brothers and sisters in Jesus Christ, on behalf of Thalir Capuchin Online Ministries, I welcome you for this week's special program meant for social work directors. This is from Thalir Visit, the virtual institute for spirituality, integrity, and transformation. We shall be dealing with project management and fundraising in this week. This is from part of the International Skills Development Program meant for the social work directors. This is from 16th to 20th of November, every day evening 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Indian time. On the 16th, we shall have the special session on the rights-based approach to development by Dr. Arul Kamaraj and Reverend Father Jyoti, a Jesuit priest. On the 17th and 18th, we shall have the sessions on project management and fundraising by Mr. Prabhakar. On the 19th, we shall have a special session on Foreign Contribution Regulation Act on the recent development by Dr. Kandasamy, the Audit and Finance Manager. On the 20th, we shall have a special session on the Catholic social teaching and the marginalized by Dr. Prakash Louis, a Jesuit missionary. Welcome to Thalir Capuchin Online Ministries.
So, thanks a lot, Father Nitya, for the introduction. I hope I am worthy of all that you have said. Having gone through those experiences, I believe that I will be able to do justice for the people gathered today. So once again, good evening, dear sisters, brothers, fathers across the globe. We have gathered here, trusting in what I am going to present to you today. Hopefully, it is kind of a useful material for all of us. Maybe I thought I will start with few questions before we get into the serious understanding of the concepts that I have shared. The context as such. Of course, you know that we are all seriously, besides our spiritual engagements, are also involved in development aspects, catering to the people in terms of their education, health, livelihood, and whatnot. So the major concern, of course, I know is the grant. So maybe you can just linger around with these questions in your mind and ask yourselves, what is the context then and now? If you just recall our tradition in mission, the then and now experience is totally different. So you just ask for a fund, and fund is available to you, and you cater to people. And then that flow is not there now. Why? So probably the context is changing. Are we aware that the context has changed? Are we with the context? Have we updated ourselves to the context? And then where are we when we linger around these three areas? Responsibility as a person concerned to cater to the poor, as Father Nitya prayed in his prayer. Where are we? Are we responsible to the sheep that you are supposed to cater to? And where is the concept of accountability and transparency? I think Sister Sarojini, you have to put yourselves in mute. Okay, I have muted. And also, I mean, are we aware of the latest trends? Okay, sister is okay. The awareness with regard to the latest trends. Are we aware the trends, particularly with regard to the program and project implementations? And particularly, are we aware of the compliance, the emerging compliance from the FCRA, particularly related to operational, financial, and legal aspects of our programs? And are we also with the global context with regard to the standard operating procedures that is existing, as well as the outcome impact monitoring? Because these are the few major areas with which the current trends are emerging, and the donor is very clear about what they're supposed to do. But are we into their shoes to understand what are we supposed to do? So you can keep reflecting on these questions, and as I start presenting few concepts, maybe towards the end you can raise your questions, and let us get into discussion later on once the presentation is completed. Are we a team in the field is a major question that we need to ask. So each congregations you're supposed to be having your own mission, your own way of implementing things for the betterment of the people. But are you working as a team, particularly in the sense of implementing the developmental aspects of the people? Of course, the spiritual aspect is taken care, but then what about the development aspect of the people? So are we together or are we working as a team? So where are we differing? And and also, are we focused in the end result? At the end result. So we'll have to maybe go through a kind of variety of experiences, variety of implementation styles, variety of programs being conducted, variety of activities being done for the development of the people. But then what is each congregation's end result that is achieved or aimed to be achieved? So keeping this in mind, we will come back to the concept called project management. It is simply is the application of knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques to project activities to meet the project requirements. So here also maybe we can check, do we have adequate knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques to implement whatever we implement in the field? Probably, are we also familiar with this approach called meals? Are we, of course, we will be doing a lot motivation, but where are we in with regards to equipping people? So suppose you want to motivate a boy to study, maybe you may come up with a kind of education facility in his village, let's say a school building. And then in order to accompany, most of you become teachers in the same school itself. And then from there, where are we moving? Linking. So we can get connected to the other sources, maybe in the government or to the other federal governments or to the private agencies or to the people coming forward to support that cause. So all that is involved. So where probably we may get stuck is sustaining. How all these four aspects, motivation, equipping, accompanying, linking, is getting sustained. So since we get stuck in this concept, since we fail to connect people to the mainstreaming, the entire initiatives, programs get stuck. Maybe all over again, we may have to start, and we struggle for getting access to the resources that are available. And if you see, these three concepts are interchangeable with which we normally work. Direct benefit is the actual end result for any program that you implement. And of course, based on the outcome, the direct benefit is visible. And basically, what is the objective that you have set? So is a cause that is leading you to the outcome and then direct benefit. And we will be also seeing when we implement a program called attribution gap in our implementation. So that's where we maybe sometimes have some difficulty or struggle to go ahead with our program. So what is this attribution gap as such is, and even if the direct effect, the outcome, can be clearly attributed to an intervention, this does not prove that this contributes to an overarching goal impact. So that is the kind of attribution gap. Maybe at this stage I may be confusing you a bit. Maybe let us see through this chart whether we understand. So normally from a donor and from implementing partners, we seek for these inputs based on which we implement activity. This is how the process has to go. But then, but I'm just giving you, assuming that this is how we work in the field. I just give you, we have contributions as inputs, maybe in terms of money, maybe in terms of human resources, other resources related to the activity that we have aimed. And once the activity is implemented as we planned is called output. Okay, and from that output what we get is the use of outputs. For example, you conduct a training for women, a tailoring training, a simple concept. If you organize a training for 10 women, how many women exactly gained the knowledge, or how many women exactly gained the skill, how many women exactly gained the techniques of tailoring, and furthermore how many women are exactly utilizing the skill learned, is the use of output. That is a new concept that has emerged. Any global agency that you approach now, they start from here. They don't worry about these things. They give you money, they know that you do activities and they know that you will complete that activities, but then what happened, what the changes that has emerged from here, and then that becomes a direct benefit. That is actually also is a goal of the component that you proposed here in your activity. Maybe education, maybe livelihood, or construction of toilets, or building a water tank, or constructing a small chapel or church. So whatever may be. So that basically also becomes the outcomes. But then this also has a concept called impact. So when you come to this concept of impact, you have a lots of indirect benefits also happening between these two. Between this direct benefit and impact, between this outcome and impact, there will be so many things which you must not have noticed. That's where we struggle when we write to the grant givers, the donors report. So they keep on asking what happened, what is the changes that you have brought into the community. So we will say we trained 10 women, they got skill in the tailoring, and now they are, some of them are practicing. So with that it is over. But then they are still going back. What happened to these women in the communities? So that is called the attribution gap, and we are not able to capture most of the time. And most of the time this is not also evident because so many different actors, factors are involved. What is that different actors and factors? Like you are not only the mission or you are not the only congregation going to that particular community and working. Government is coming, there are other several private agencies are coming, other NGOs are coming, other CBOs are coming, CSOs are coming. So many other people are coming. So you are one of them catering to the need of livelihood by providing training on tailoring. So this is again, this is how the entire gap is very clear now. And these arrows you see is are all in every stage the indirect benefits taking place. As soon as you give training, these women will go, forget about your training, forget about all that you have done to those women. These women will go to some other agencies to seek for obtaining a tailoring machine. Let's say, for example, this Usha Foundation is coming forward to give sometimes tailoring machines to women. So they may go there, they will just ignore you. But that is also is your hard work, and it is not noticed often. And further, as you move and you see so many are happening. Actually, whenever you implement a small program or project, the reality looks like this. This is how so much is happening in a single activity that you do in a place, but we are not aware. So, are we skilled, or are we trained, or have you opened your eyes to see all those changes happening around every effort that you put since then you got money, since then you start implementing a project? So is the kind of a overall picture that I want to give you before we go further. And this is a kind of a border stage again. The result model comes like this. So this is how the donor is expecting from you, or the person who gives you money. Maybe an individual, even he might have in his mind what happened. So they are also doing other things. So what happened to several other things? Because when you are able to capture a smaller things happening out of what you do already in the field, you will be definitely able to also develop another concept or another need for implementation. So you will go for working on education, but then if you see, you will realize that you need to address the issue of health prior to implementing education there. So before educating a child, you have to provide a good health to his mother and good livelihood to his father. So two different components are emerging from what you go with in mind. So this is a kind of a model with which the expectation comes from the donor point of view. And are we ready with these things? And this is again, this is how uh, the entire thing is portrayed. So which means anything that you do never stands alone. So any activity, any initiative uh, you are aiming to implement in any field, that has definitely something else also to be added on. So are we aware? So that's an important question. So which means it needs inputs from others. So it is slowly inviting us to kind of get connected to the people who are also present in the field where you are implementing. So that's a kind of a management, the project management that we are talking. It creates new and unexpected things. So you must not have never thought in your discussion in your community. You must have said we will go and start a school and we will cater to 100 children, but then you will see there will be hundreds of needs waiting there for you to be addressed before you start a school in a place. So which means you'll have to go along with the linear as well as non-linear linkages. But after all this, again we'll have to satisfy the donors. They have their own hypothesis, and they have their own expectations of contributions that your program for which you received money has resulted in the place. So we need to be also balancing in both. So this is how we need to manage. So which means we will have to, we can't simply say that two persons gave money, so I'm doing a program. No, but then even if that is not processed in this manner, we will lose track of the practice. So that's the thing that I'm trying to say here. And so we need to understand what are these inputs, outputs, outcomes, and impact. So input is simply, the resources dedicated to or consumed by the project. So all that you need to implement a project is simply is input. And what the project does with the inputs to fulfill its mission is activities. So for example, you want to train 10 women. So you get money, so let's say 1 lakh rupee for to train those women is the input. The activity is training to the women on tailoring. It's a kind of activity. The output is the particular activity, the volume of work accomplished by the project. So the particular activity was completed is the output. But it is not over there. So it is not over there. So we'll have to see the benefits or changes for participants during or after project activities. So the outcome. So the donor is worried about these two. So what is the changes that you have made in the lives of those women and the long-term consequences of the intervention? By giving this training, what are these women are going to do in the forthcoming, let's say, in the lifetime, in their lifetime? So your planned work is good, but then your intended results, have you achieved, is the greater question of any donor who comes forward to give money for your projects. So further, to analyze, to understand the impact as such, is specifically what do they want from this is, the impact is basically a change in the situation of the people a project addresses, maybe positive or negative long-term effects and changes caused by a development intervention, can be directly or indirectly intended or unintended, have fundamental bearings on the livelihoods, living conditions of the people. So this is the impact. And what is the outcome is the likely or achieved short-term and medium-term effects of an intervention's outputs, can be positive again or negative, intended or unintended. A change in the situation of the people the project addresses which can be attributed possibly mainly to the use of the project outputs. And of course, I already said what is the use of output is the application of the output. Example, product, services, acquired knowledge or learned skills by the people the project addresses. And outputs is same, all that what I have said. And activities also, what are the actions you have taken or work performed through which inputs such as funds, technical assistance and other types of resources are mobilized to produce specific outputs. It is your doing. So we speak basically on this. When you actually make the project management, you will have to seriously analyze whether you are in this framework, whether your process went through these processes. For example, a log frame. So I suppose you know what is log frame is about. And normally you sit to develop first log frame and then you go for a proposal that takes the form of the proposal. And then you will have to also focus much on this concept, monitoring, which is a very important aspect based on the interventions that you have visualized in your proposal as well as in the log frame. And only by doing this, you get the picture of outcome and impact that you are visualizing at the end of the project. Based on this, you will be able to make objectives. Mostly what we do is, for what are we aiming money? So we sit with this and you go for this directly. So you start writing objectives. So for this we want money, for this we want money. Okay, so we write a proposal based on that. We forget about all these processes. At least in mind, are we able to make this process clear? Because this is how some of you maybe have the experience, the donors repeatedly asking you again and again, what are the indicators, what are the goal of your project, and what is the interventions that you are making. So what is the intervention one is connected, how the intervention one is connected to your objective one, and things like that. So many questions may be coming. So if all these processes are clear, at least one person, if he is clear, and your implementations in whatever the shape, in however the shape it takes place in the field, will come to a reality in this manner, outcome and impact at the end. So you'll have a very, very clear kind of a picture in your hand whenever the donor asks for any explanations or any clarifications during the implementation of your project, or even after your implementation of the project. And this is already I said is the input. and activities, output, result, and based on which the project objective is framed, overall goal, and the assumptions and risk come in all these stages. So assumptions and risk we can have in at any stage, which will be mentioned in the log frame. When you want money, you need to have some assumptions. What will happen to the money in case if you are not able to organize a particular meeting? Let's say you are planning for a huge gathering of women, and let's say if the weather condition is not so great, and then it is cancelled, and so much you have invested, and that money is gone in waste. So how will you assume that if that such a situation occurs, how will be rectified? This is actually a kind of a hierarchical model with which we have been working. But then now the global eye opener for the implementing development agencies is an impact chain, which is called, that comes in this framework. So input of course is the same, and activity of course is the same, output is of course same. Before outcome there comes another one which is called use of output that I already shared. So this is called a kind of a impact chain. So what do the donors expect or want us to clearly state in our project appeal or in our proposal is this. So at each stage you have to uh, bring what is the impact is going to take place. So when you get money, what is the impact it is going to create? And when you plan activities, what is the impact it is going to create? And when you implement those activities, what are the impacts the activity is going to create? And at the level of use of outputs, at the level of outcome, and as a whole impact. So the impact has to be seen in all these stages. Particularly these three will project the impact chain that your project that you are planning. For example, you have funds, technical staff, unskilled laborers, cement, technical supplies, etc. So what is this for? So you are asking for, first, to implement this activity related to this one, you need to uh, mobilize the community, and then you need to capacitate the community. So which means you are going to do something related to water user committee. So you are going to form water user committee. So you uh, mobilize them, you capacitate them, and then you fix up with the target groups and supported by NGO personnel and start constructing wells. So then what happens? The water user committee is functional. So it is formed and it started functioning. Then what happens? So target groups are aware of hygiene and sanitation. The clear awareness given to the entire community on hygiene and sanitation. And then what happens? Water supply system is in place. So what happens because of that? The families use clean water for cooking and drinking. So now we understand. Suppose you want, ultimately what is our plan is only this one, construction of wells. So you want to construct wells in the community, but then before that all these processes have taken place. So you are thinking of constructing a well. Do you have technical staff for that, or have you approached anyone for that? And you also need some unskilled laborers to construct this one. So do you have in mind? So you need cement, you need technical supplies. I mean, where are you going to buy? How much are you going to buy? How many wells are going to build? So all this is there. It is planned here itself. So only when this one is as a kind of a holistic or concise expectation of the project, then only it will proceed further with the activity, with the output, with the use of output. Then what happens in the outcome? Waterborne diseases reduced. You see, ultimate aim for the donor is not you construct well or you provide water, all that. No, people are getting affected with the waterborne diseases. It has to be reduced. What are you planning? So this is how we have processed. This is how we have proceeded. You are going to tell. So they are taken up, and then they may ask you what is next. Are we prepared for that? So improved health status is the impact. Reduced child mortality, is the ultimate impact of this project. So it is successful. So this is how each person or each donor, each grant is expecting, and that's how it is designed. Believe it or not, every single person, every single donor in the globe are well connected than ourselves. They know. Suppose if you are asking, be it in Philippines, be it in Sri Lanka, be it in India, or be it in Tamil Nadu, wherever you are, you ask for a project. Imagine within the given time prior to the approval, they have internal discussions. They study you. They study you through your websites. They study you through your organization, and they know you before giving you money. It's not that because you ask for a good cause they give you money, but because they know you, they give you money, and they know that what they expect can be given by you, because of which money is given. So this is in a kind of a nutshell, in gist, I have shared about the project management. And and father said actually we will also be continually connected, so we need to explore each of them because each topic is vast and wider. And before that, it's one important aspect that all of us need to also be little more organized, because we are one greater thing is the concept of development probably emerged from the mission experience that we people have, because religious have a greater examples, I mean greater practices, greater experiences, greater models to teach to the world, and which is from where I think all these NGOs have gained a lot of knowledge about how to implement a program, how to reach out to people. All that is learned from. So nobody can deny that it is received from a mission. So it is from the religious congregations that are enormously contributing to the development across the globe. So that way, documentation and reporting, when we talk about this concept, are we in line with some of the things that I have stated here? How are you able to gather facts and figures that are specific, clear, and precise? Do we have enough facts and figures related to the activities that we are doing? So oftentimes we are great in doing, but then we are somehow little lag behind in keeping these things in up to date. So we don't have a, I mean, each time we'll have to refer to some or the other. So we will ask somebody in the community, we will ask somebody in the field, sister or brother, what happened? Do you have that data? Can you get that data? So immediately right in hand, normally we don't have. And then is the language that you are writing so much, you write so much, but then the correct language as expected by the donor or the person who is coming forward to give is not there. So they ask what happened there. That's why so many questions come. Why these people are asking so many questions? When you ask like that, that's the reason why they don't, I mean, they ask. And then medical terms. So sometimes when we use medical terms, because most of you are involved in health related programs, so maybe one sister is a nurse, but then what about the others? Are they familiar with the medical terms or medical concepts used in the field, and the abbreviations that you use? So do we have a clear explanations for all those abbreviations that we use? Because we are very good in combining these abbreviations and making names for our every activity will have a kind of a abbreviations. And then how are we efficient in observations, interventions, and communications? So interventions is very good, but then maybe observations and communications, I think we have a lot of room to learn or update ourselves. And then be accurate, we need to be accurate, and then we'll have to describe the behaviors of the community with whom we work with, and then use approved abbreviations and symbols, and spell it correctly, anything that you do. These are all important for documentation. Used correct terminology and grammar, of course, that will be taken care. And these are all a kind of a variety of reports that we need to be really updated with. All this we may be doing, but then this everything has a significance in what you do and what you expect to be done. So monthly reports, quarterly reports, 6 monthly reports, annual reports, projects reports, all these reports you see has to be interconnected. For example, for all this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stuff, where do you get is from this. So your staff reports, meeting minutes. So when your minutes has to have the stuff for this thing. So your each time you will be looking new for most of us. When we sit for monthly reports, so we will start gathering materials. And when we prepare annual reports for the activities that we have done, we will look for resources. So we will start accumulating data. But then if these things is done properly, meeting minutes, field visit reports, case stories, data formats are filled. So for each program, you have to have a data format with a statistical explanation for how many persons, how many times, and what happened. All that numbers and quantity has to come here. So do we have that sort of data so that we are able to um, meet the expectations from these areas? As well as you must have formed several committees, and we are known for committees. As you know, religious people, we have committees for everything, but then how are we uh, keeping the reports and how they are connected to the mission that you are involved in? So that may be wonderful, but some are doing really well, and we need to also learn from each other in this aspect. And then membership reports, in case if you have any membership, this thing, research reports. This is also one of the important aspect that we need to simultaneously, we need to keep studying the community with whom we work. We need to understand, because the uh, problems, changes that are taking place are day by day changing, day by day emerging. So are we up to that? Also is important. So this research reports is one aspect, and special reports maybe we may have to make some special stories to highlight our success stories or our experience so far. All that will come in here. And then also this has become also globally very important. uh, Anybody who is coming to work with you will go first, as I said, no, I mean they will know us, so they will know us from this web page. For our congregation, for our initiatives, for all that we do we have a web page? So based on that page only, things will be taken. And then granting agency forms. So each granting agency will have its own way of asking things. So we need to be also, acquainted to answer to those forms. And then photographic records. This is very important. Sometimes these materials also, sorry, these materials also can come from this just a photograph. Just write a put a photograph, and then you just write a date and what happened, and then it will help you recall all the stuff you want for all these things. So photographic records is very important. Also sometimes add audio and visual recordings. Now we are very much acquainted with this mobile access, so we can also come up with all these things. Then communications from recipients. So the record of all that we receive from the recipients. Then programmatic data, study results, newspaper or journal articles. So these stuff, sometimes if you have some less materials here, if these things are maintained, this they can co-contribute to enhance these aspects. So similarly, all these also will come in. So these are all mostly related to time and quantity and things like that. So that's it for today I have, and thank you so much for listening.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prabhakar. It's a brilliant presentation.
I think lot of information. So I think so I'll go for weeks of study. Intensive study will be needed to go through some of the point that you have proposed, and a lot of new things. The nuances of a project is very clearly brought out in this. Now I leave the floor to Father Ben, who will be organizing for clarification. Is it okay, Father Prabhakar? Sir Prabhakar?
Yes, Father, no problem.
I think there will be a lot of
Yeah,
clarification.
maybe I can answer right away some questions.
Yes.
Otherwise, I will take note of it and then also I can send as a reply to you.
Sure, yeah, tomorrow. As friends, I think tomorrow we are having a session also on this fundraising. So he is going to be with us. So he can clarify materials now. For Ben will be leading us into this discussion now. Miss Father Ben.
Further, first question is from Arogya Mary. She is asking, what is log frame?
Long form of SOP, no?
Standard
Log
of
frame. Okay, log frame.
Yes, Father.
Yeah, it's a log frame is simply it's a frame of the plan that we have for implementing any program. So maybe tomorrow I will show you a kind of a sample of log frame and what are all it contains. What it basically contains is the overall goal of the project, and then the activities you have planned, and then the expected results that you are listing down, and for each result, for each and the objectives, and of course the input that you require, the resource that you require, it will come. So for each one, for the goal, for the expected results, for the activities, for the kind of objectives that you have put forward, and the activities, all that will have indicators based on which you will also say, by bringing out these indicators. Then also we have to understand what is indicators. Maybe I can also talk something about indicators tomorrow. Yeah. Then indicators, and then how do we develop those indicators, and then for each indicator you will also have to produce some documents for verification, which is called means of verification. And then at the end you will also mention about some of the assumptions and risks involved in all that. So this will have a kind of some based on the project from page 1 to 5. So maybe 1 page or 2 page or 5 page log frame for each project that you implement. So you don't have to read all the time the proposal. This log frame will give you a clear picture whenever you implement the program. So that is actually called log frame. It's a frame of work with which you aim to implement your project.
Yeah, Sister Rosalind, go ahead.
Yes, Father, I wanted to ask some techniques of fundraising, but then now you said that tomorrow we are going to explain, right?
Yes, sister. Yes.
So I keep it for tomorrow.
Yes.
Very good.
Father, Sister Maria is asking this question. What is the long form of SOP and OIM?
Yeah, SOP is standard operating procedures. Now we have a global SOP. Each agency has their own SOP. Particularly that explains about how are you going to be comply with operational, legal and financial aspects of your this thing. For example, now with regard to India, the FCRA has made some changes, some amendments has brought in, and of course I think Dr. Kandasamy will talk to us the day after on that. I think we will get some updates on that. So SOP is basically a standard operating procedures. So you need to have some operating procedures based on which you'll have to respond to the donors. One. Another one is OIM, is outcome impact monitoring. So as I said, the impact has to be assessed. The impact chain that I was talking about, the impact has to be assessed from day 1 till the day end of your project. So the impact is not that is the one that you expect at the end of the project, but it is the process that evolves from day 1 till the end of your project is ended. So OIM is outcome impact monitoring, and that one is standard operating procedure.
Yeah, brother, please clarify more on attribution gap by Celestine.
Yeah. See, actually attribution gap is, we know that we are implementing a program. So I said the example of giving a tailoring training to 10 women. So the direct benefit and the indirect benefit. So direct benefit is they are trained, and some of them are using their skill. Some of them are made it as a business for their livelihood. Is the kind of a direct benefit because of you. But at the same time, some women must have set it up as a kind of a training center, getting 10 more tailoring machines from other donors, and then they may be establishing their own trust or their own NGO or their own organization or their own industry, and they become a kind of a business person from that. Is indirect benefit. So between these two, the gap is mostly not analyzed by us. So we are just happy with we have trained them. We have not. Sometimes we don't notice that gap. So that's what is called the attribution gap. So you'll have to also see what is happening around that particular individual gaining something from you. So we'll have to capture all the changes that is taking place, not only because of the activity that you have given, but also maybe her husband has become a kind of a businessman because of this training given to this woman, or maybe the children are educated, our children are well settled. So all these things are because of also your program. So we fail to see those changes. So that is a kind of a gap. So that gap is called attribution gap.
Brother,
Yeah.
Shirley Joseph is asking this question. When you spoke on documentation,
Yeah.
said that describe behavior. Can you explain a bit more?
In the sense, I mean the last one, is it?
Yes, Father. Yes, Father.
Yeah. See, particularly when we work with people differently abled, I mean, kind of unskilled laborers. I mean, so many categories are there. Maybe tomorrow I can highlight more on that. But then today is simply I mean, how are we able to capture the behaviors of those people in just maybe tomorrow I will give you kind of a detailed explanation on that.
Saji George asking this. Could you enlighten us more on assumption and risks?
Yeah, assumption is that see, it is again based on the context from where we are implementing this project. I mean, any project that you are planning. So, I mean, are we able to assume that everything will go well? So, if in case it goes wrong, so what is the alternative? Okay, is it like plan A and plan B? So, I mean, however, you'll have to respond to the donor that you have done the program. You can't say that because it was raining that day we didn't organize the program. But in case if it rains, it's a simple reason. But there may be also several other reasons because of which you are not able to. So, are you able to assume when you frame the activities itself? Any activities that you plan, you also should be in a position to see what are the kind of assumed thing that may happen, which is not maybe part of the project proposal, or risk that you are expecting. For example, you are planning to organize a big rally for St. Mary, and given the current context, and if you are not able to allow to go ahead with the rally because of COVID, let's say you have planned this program in the year 2018, but then now it has to be organized in 2020 because of COVID-19. You are not able to organize, but of course we cannot visualize that this will happen, but maybe also politically some pressures we are not able to organize. So all these factors, these are all risks, and maybe you are not able to spend the whole money that you asked for. So that is also a risk. So you asked for huge money, and let's say you asked for 1 crore, and if you are able to finish the program in 10 lakhs, and how are you going to answer for 90 lakhs? So these are all a kind of a risk. Are you able to visualize, or you simply put down the activities and then ask for money? So this is also kind of assumptions and risks that you need to keep in mind, and it will be highlighted, as I said in the beginning, in the log frame. So it has to be highlighted. So it will be kind of a Bible for you for your project. So the log frame is, in a simple sense, is a Bible for your implementation, where everything will be clear based on which you will do your activities. based on which you will implement your project. Yes, Father. So,
Hedvig is asking this question.
Yeah.
Do I have to present a log frame with my proposal?
yeah, definitely they will ask. I mean, some donors specifically ask in the initial stage, some maybe in the process of approval or maybe after being approved, but somehow you need to definitely develop a log frame. So they will ask for it. And if you present with the log frame, any donors will be really happy because you are not running around the bush. So you will be to the point with your log frame.
Yeah. Sister Gorte. Sometimes the recipient is not in a position to provide the required document for the own rural setup in different. What happened to our own reporting?
Yeah, that's what I said. So we will not get any more money from the donor we are expecting, because reporting is also has to be considered as one of the serious activity, because we are too much into the field and too much into the activity and we fail to capture what happened. So much has gone in, but then where is it? Where are the evidences? As a donor, I want the evidences. But as an implementer, you can say that I did that and that, this and that, but then I need to see it where you have done, because when you implement, I am not there in the field. This is a picture projected by the donor. No? So definitely you have to capture the report. And in case if you failed in that, and every process will be getting delayed. So they will say maybe we can't process your next portion of fund. So you'll have to give the report first. So then maybe you'll have to rework on the, this has happened to so many organizations. Some organizations, the final portion of money is not released because of the final report. So maybe they will be simply working on the report itself, a report alone for the next 3 months of their project ending period. So this also happens. So reporting also is very much important. You don't have to write stories. There are very simple formats. Maybe tomorrow also I will show you what nutshell content of the report can be. So what actually they expect is what is the activity, what is the amount spent, how many were involved, so how many benefited from those activities, and what are the changes that has occurred. So these are all few things that you have to capture.
Yeah, another question is from MMSI. I think that will be dealt tomorrow, but I'll just read it for you. How to tap donations from India? Please explain about CSR.
Yes, yes. Tomorrow, Father, I will definitely say something on that.
Yeah, clarifications from Sri Lanka. They are asking. Thank you so much for the informative presentation. Is it possible to show a project proposal model next time?
Yeah, I can. I will show you the one that I myself developed for Bread for the World. So maybe tomorrow.
There is another question. In some funding agencies, application format is repetition. Can we leave it as it is already answered? Some repetitions there.
Yeah, unless they have said. So in case if they have said, if you have already given the information on particular columns, please avoid. Otherwise, I think we are intent to provide all the information seeked in the application form. Better not to leave any blanks. That would be nice. Unless they have said, suppose we have sent several applications and we have been we are having them as a kind of a regular donor, and they themselves will say you don't have to answer these questions. Otherwise, it is better. Suppose if you are applying again and again, last year you applied, you can't say that last year I gave the information, so I can't give this year. But every year as you apply as a new applicant, you have to give every detail in the proposal.
Yeah. Can we ask favor to put a brief description on the important terms used, because there are some which we do not know.
Favor.
Lorena.
Yeah, I mean, there are agencies supporting for, all the causes that we visualize, and there are some foundations, there are some agencies. We can ask. We can also raise fund. I mean, that is also we will be talking elaborately tomorrow. A concept called crowdfunding, so which we will be discussing a little elaborately tomorrow. So through which also we can raise money. I mean, how to raise and where are the sources, all that also we can discuss tomorrow.
Yeah. Sister Grace is asking this question. What can be the main reasons of for less output from a project?
Not less output, maybe we can say outcome. Output is normally done. So because mostly whatever money we get for, we have done. So that is called output. So output is over. So outcome normally, because the monitoring, no, we fail in monitoring. So we fail in being regular to them. Once, for example, once you have done something in a particular village, maybe due to because it is very interior or something like that, and we don't have follow up, and then we fail. So that's a change actually the donor expects. So after you have gone there, what has happened? So for example, I'm just saying. So that's how it happens to any other program. So any other program, I think as I said in the beginning, maybe if you go over again my presentation, you will understand. Only if something happened after the output is given, that is use of output, you will be able to see maybe negative or positive. Something has to happen, and that happening has to be captured by us. So that change has to be captured by us. So then only we can. So
Yeah.
I think that's outcome. It's not output. Output, I think mostly, I think we are very faithful in completing all the projects and things like
Father Van is asking this question. Is it possible to get some agencies' addresses?
that. Yeah, I will definitely share. Maybe yes, it is possible. I mean, I don't have to give. Actually, it is there, but maybe I will tell you how to hunt them, and you can hunt. Because once if I give some agency's name, and in case if they don't come forward to support, I mean, I can't just take the blame. So I will just give you where to hunt. Definitely, I will show you the way. I mean, exactly for which I am there. I'm happy to support our initiatives as religious. So definitely, I will show some ways.
Yeah. So Tushari FMM is asking this question. Can you explain how log frame and reporting connects together? Like, connection between log frame and reporting.
Um, if we have a perfect log frame, the outcome will be in the report based on the log frame, because you will be writing the terms and concepts which are there in the log frame. So you will stick on to yourself. If you simply write reporting, suppose if you organize some people who do not, I mean, actually, once the proposal is done, starting with the log frame, the entire process of implementation has to be explained to the entire team, particularly to the people who are going to be in the field. Excuse me. And they should know. Let's say if you are going to work on three major components: education, health, and livelihood, and you may have different teams working for livelihood, working for education, working for health. They should know what result they should bring out by doing this activity, and they will only write that one. And if you simply ask them to organize something on education or something on health, something on livelihood, the reporting and the log frame will have some difficulty in matching.
Yeah. Arakimiri is asking this question. Can the project be utilized for another purpose due to lockdown? If yes, how?
That's again depending on the donor, Father. You'll have to either you must have got the prior approval from the donor or seek the approval in the course of this lockdown. Suppose you want to address the same cause via the medium of kind of this media or internet. Now, I mean, now as we are connected through Zoom, it will involve definitely some amount, but prior approval from the donor is yes, fine. And in case you have some money in the corpus and you want to do it from your congregation, I think your congregation has to approve. If you are taking the project money, the donor concern has to definitely approve that one. Only then we can implement. Yes, Paul.
Missionaries of Clarition, they are asking to see a model. I think that is dealt already.
Okay.
What are the FCRA implications for us in the days to come?
Excuse me, Mr. Prabhakar.
Yes.
Dear friends, there's one full day Mr. Kandasamy will be dealing only on FCRA and the NGOs, especially how it is impacting. There's so many rules have been made now, and that one day will be there. Just information. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, yes, Father. I think Dr. Kandasamy will cover on this. So
yes.
Maybe...
Nothing to worry. There will be a one full day. Yes.
Yeah. Anything else, Father?
I'm just trying to get report.
But then, is there anything more?
Yeah, Vidya is asking this question. Should report writing focus on more on quantitative or qualitative outcome?
Both, Father. Both. Both has to be there, because qualitative we need, of course. I mean, we have to show the quality. I mean, quality where we will show normally is maybe in our periodicals, newsletters, and things like that. Quantity mostly we will bring it in the annual reports, and we will we'll have to send to the this one. So both is getting both at a time is easy for us. Particularly those who work in the administration to finalize the reports and all will definitely need both qualitative and quantitative report.
What about this from Anna Maria? What about the process of monitoring and evaluation in the project management?
Monitoring and evaluation normally done. I mean, if by donor itself they propose in two ways. So that is, one is internal and another one is external. Internal happens your organization. So maybe you can, being a religious congregation, you can call out for some people from other parts of your provinces and ask them to come and evaluate your own projects. Maybe they are experts in program implementation, they are good social workers, or they are good in finance, and they are also good in legal aspects and things like that. They can come and evaluate. So normally one program person, one finance person, and one technical person evaluates the project. The program person sees the quality of the project, and then finance person sees the accountability and transparency aspect, and then the technical person sees how far you are able to bring in changes, and in quantity what are you able to show. So keeping these three concepts in mind, you can have an internal evaluation. And the second one is, of course, external evaluation. External evaluation, you'll have to definitely maybe involve your auditor or somebody referred by your auditor for finance. And program, there are some consultants across the state or nation, or you may know somebody also can involve. So this is a kind of a requirement by them. Monitoring, of course, it's basically is in the based on the structure of the implementation team that you have. Maybe kind of, let's say, program coordinator, and then so it in every stage everyone has to monitor. So let's say maybe to start with, persons going to the field will have to monitor themselves and monitor the people, and people will monitor them. So you can sometimes also you can interact with the people and see how far the qualitative input received from the field workers. So it is from top to bottom. So everybody is in the process of monitoring. So everybody sees what is happening, and then accordingly that is brought out in the report.
For the last question for today, I think
Yeah.
during a project, we too felt that there was an attribution gap. So we too disturbed to continue the project. What can we do if we face the situation?
No, actually, it is good for us to capture the attribution gap. If sometimes, as you said, it may come as a hinter, because somebody may come and overlap on our activities and take more of this thing. I think that can be positively reflected. I mean, we can't go fighting for that. So maybe positively that can be brought into the report, and then you can ask for alternatives or alternative ways of doing the same concept to the donor. See, clearly stating this is how it is happening. For example, political changes, policy changes, all these are attribution gaps. So sometimes you may think that you want to, let's say now at this season, you must have started, I mean, you must be wanting to start the school by 16, since most of you are involved in education, and it is not possible. But mostly we cater to the people in the mission who have no access to internet and things like that. So, and you are not able to continue your classes, online classes. So how do you cope up with those students? So maybe some alternatives you can think of. You can take some alternatives with regard to working on how to bring effectiveness of the media in their places itself and things like that. So these are all kind of alternatives you have to think. So when we face with the attribution gap, if it is positive, take pride on your project, that because of which it is happening. If it is something very negative, see where you can bring in some alternatives to that. So that's how we can address that one.
One last question has come. What are some of the latest trend in social work?
Latest trend in maybe tomorrow I will share.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all from the chat.
Thank you for that.
I think this has been an excellent interaction among, I think, after a long time we are finding. Thank you for Ben for this wonderful guiding. And dear friends, what I found in this full session, some of the questions are, I think some of you are completely new to this social work trend, the social trend. Therefore, yesterday's base, I think that's the basis of most of all of your activities. When you're having a mapping of your area, you need to focus on the discriminations, violations, and the sufferings and the challenges of the people. So that will be one of the base. And second thing is the log framing. It's very important. The log framing tells by who you are and how you are capacitated to go ahead. And another thing is the designing, methodology, evaluation. These are some of the basics, I think. When you go back, please spend some 10 minutes, some quality 10 minutes, reflecting with yourself and with your subordinate, with your collaborators, find out what are the things, one particular project to take it up, and how you have designed it. What is the outcome you are expecting? What is the visible input you are trying to bring in periodically, the first month, second month, like that. This is one particular point I want to bring it to your notice. Second thing is, all the social work department people, we are given this responsibility on behalf of the province. And the province, we are duty bound to the province also about that. So one is project management, another one is province management, another one is members management. So many of our activities are not known to the province members. So this is creating a lot of rupture and misunderstanding. They think differently, that you are busy here and there. There's no reporting mechanisms. So we don't do any reporting. Let it be. There is email. There is a lot of the mobile. Everything is there. All these things are very much important for you to have network with people to create a report. Find out what is the report that you have submitted to the province, to the congregation last month, the month of October. What did you do? Remember, half of us will be having nothing to give. But we have done a lot of things. That's why Mr. Prabhakar is very clearly told, a lot of things we do, but there's no reporting. Reporting is not oral. Reporting should be written. Even if it is email, it's no problem. People all receive that your report. Make it very short, just 1-page report with photo journal. So this creates a lot of appreciation of your own activity. You may not get the fund, but if you are in the field, that is very important. Sometimes you may be expert in raising fund and conducting, but you are not really connected to the poorest of the people. Yes, as a person, this is very important for us to reflecting about the province. Third thing is to reflect about your own charism of your congregation, the chapter report, chapter decrees, and the founder's dream. All these things give you the credibility and the foundation on which you are asking for these activities. So you remember to quote the sentences, quote the numbers of your constitution when you are speaking to the chapter decrees. These are some of the things I want to do. So therefore, little updating is very important. Reporting mechanism to be updated. Third one is relationship. Build up relationship also with the other NGOs. Very often we have the tendency to think that's a secret agency. Ours is secret, nothing to share, nothing to be known. No. It is just to collaborate, give and take, learn everything. That's very important. Internet is very, very important. I conducted 2 years before for social directors. Many people do not know how to use internet and website and finding out what is the CSR, what is the government project meant for allotment. We do not know, but things are known, things are available. So therefore, a lot of things have to be done. People respect us. 2 years before we conducted one training, the particular the POP, poorest of the poor. There's a particular project in the government of India, POP. Poorest of the poor, that is for the street platform dwellers, for the marginalized people who are beggars. For these people, there is a crores of rupees available, but we can take it up. It's available only in Hindi. It was available only in Hindi. When you conduct the training, the government fellow came and told, we will not receive money because you religious people are really in the field. Don't show it to other people. They'll simply misuse. I trust you. So they came and conducted the training. Therefore, friends, most of us are very committed, very sincere, but little hard work and penance is needed. It is our penitential suffering and challenges that will prove that we are credible people. We need that. So this is, I think, some of the things that I want to bring it to your notice. And there's some other things that give a model for a project. Everything is there. The log frame, please go through and come. Go through a log frame in your mobile and check it out and come back. Project management, you find out and come back. So tomorrow you'll be having much more things to be clarified. These are some of the remarks I want to make. And please involve your other people, 1 or 2 more people. Now itself prepare a ground for young ones to come. Some of people were doing MSW, but they don't know many things about, like Prabhakar has done a lot of things. He has not come into this field, he has come some other field, but it's a commitment and also enthusiasm and interest among the poor people, to the poor people, for the people. That is our life. Our social workers' work is we are for the poor, by the poor, and of the poor. And that should be our spirituality. If that is very clear, we'll be able to take down very clearly what our congregation, our founder's dream is. So these are things. I think I have spoken too much. Thank you so much. And we are winding up now. Anything else, Father Ben?
For the chat box, I think it's all over, Father.
Yes. Dear friends, I am going to give you one small, this one I'll send you in the WhatsApp group. Many of you are not in the WhatsApp group. Please enter into the WhatsApp group. We'll be sending this PowerPoint and also yesterday's PowerPoint and the video I think you must have received already. We'll be sending it to you. Today's video will be uploaded tomorrow. And if you want all the other motivational videos, you have got more than 100 videos are there. You can always go through that. It's already open. Talir-visit. Remember, Talir-visit. The visit stands for Virtual Institute for Spirituality, Integration, and Transformation. So Talir-visit, if you click in the YouTube, our channel will come, that you will be able to get a lot of materials, including yesterday's and today's, and also in future will get automatically. And I'll be sending you our sisters from I think St. Joseph of Annecy, St. Joseph of Lyons, and I think 3 congregations, they are creating a small free thing, this one, something I'll be sending it in the WhatsApp also. Please go through that. It's a free thing. You all can attend. I think some of the sisters are attending. They are organizing. Very good, eminent staff is coming. Maybe 25th and 26th, I think. I'll be sending it in the WhatsApp group. Thank you so much.
So I take leave, Father.
Thank you, Mr. Prabhakar. Brilliant exposition. And it
thank
has
you.
been like undergoing a wonderful thesis presentation. It's very good. Yes, it's really
Thank
good.
you,
Lot
Father.
of things and lot of things to learn. We have to go back and read a lot.
Yeah,
Yes.
It's my pleasure, Father. Thank you, Father.